Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Good to see you all. Tonight we're continuing with our study of Bhagavad Gita as it is by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. And tonight we will continue with chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita. Tonight we'll take up from verse number 4. And if you have any questions or comments as we go, you can please ask. Text number 4. Pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance, these qualities belong to those of demoniac nature, O son of Pritha. So we're studying the Bhagavad Gita, and chapter 16 is called The Divine and Demoniac Natures. So it speaks about those people who are Sura and Asura, which means people who are inclined or theistic or have faith in God, and those who do not, who are atheistic and who are demoniac in nature, who are Asura, which means rebellious against the instructions, the teachings, the commandments of God. So everyone in this world falls into one of these two categories. People are either theistic or atheistic. Right? These are the only two categories which exist. People either believe in God or they do not. They're either submissive or they're rebellious. So the first three verses of the chapter, these first three verses were speaking about those who are Sura or devotee, those who are submissive. Now we're hearing about those who are rebellious, asuric, which means those who are rebellious against the teachings of God. So we hear about their qualities here: pride, arrogance, conceit, anger, harshness, and ignorance. So Prabhupada says in the purport, in this verse, the royal road to hell is described. The demoniac want to make a show of religion and advancement in spiritual science, although they do not follow the principles. They are always arrogant or proud in possessing education or wealth. They desire to be worshipped by others and demand respectability, although they do not command respect. Over trifles, they become very angry and speak harshly, not gently. They do not know what should be done and what should not be done. They do everything whimsically according to their own desire, and they do not recognize any authority. These demoniac qualities are taken on by them from the beginning of their bodies, in the wombs of their mothers. And as they grow, they manifest all these inauspicious qualities. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we have around 700 verses. And there's actually more conversation which takes place between Krishna and Arjuna. Although it is not given to us in the Bhagavad Gita itself, but in the commentaries of Baladev Vijayabhushan, for example, there is extra dialogue which is given to us. And it is explained, Krishna actually explains to Arjuna that the qualities which one has in this lifetime can be seen from birth. The qualities can be seen from a very young age. we all know some kids are just brats. Some kids are just horrible to other children, and they're very troubled, and they're very rebellious. They just don't have nice personalities, nice natures. And that's from the beginning. That's not even them so much modeling what they have learned. That's just their nature. So Krishna explains it is the nature of many people to just act in a particular way. Then there are also those who are just godly or saintly by disposition. From a very young age, they just show very good qualities. Even as children, they're kind, considerate, well behaved, well spoken. All these things are there. So we can see these qualities from the very beginning of life. Now, it is being said, pride. Pride means, to think we are superior to others, right? All of us have this quality to some degree, but some people have it in a disproportionate way. They're very proud. And then arrogance. Do not treat other people well. We see this around the world. Sometimes there's people, they just don't treat other people properly, don't treat them well. Conceit. People are conceited. Angry. If they don't get their own way, they become angry. There's an anger management issue on the planet right now. So many people are angry. And this is because they're frustrated. If people don't get their own way, they become very angry. Harshness. People are harsh and ignorant. So these are the asuric qualities. These are the qualities that we do not want to possess or cultivate. The transcendental qualities are considered, are conducive to liberation, whereas the demoniac qualities make for bondage. Do not worry, O son of Pandu, for you are born with the divine qualities. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Lord Krishna encouraged Arjuna by telling him that he was not born with demoniac qualities. His involvement in the fight was not demoniac because he was considering the pros and cons. He was not acting under the influence of anger, false prestige, or harshness. For a Kshatriya, shooting arrows at the enemy is considered transcendental, and refraining from such a duty is demoniac. Therefore, there was no cause for Arjuna to lament. Anyone who performs the regulative principles of the different orders of life is transcendentally situated. So transcendentally situated, right? So as Krishna is mentioning here, and as Prabhupada points out, we have to cultivate the qualities of the first three verses. We have to become conscientious of what those qualities are. And we need to, once we're conscientious of what the qualities are, we need to cultivate them conscientiously. Right? All of us need to cultivate good qualities. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that you can choose each of the 26 qualities, and every Ekadashi, like today is Ekadashi, which takes place 26 times a year, you can choose one of the qualities of the 26, one each for each Ekadashi, 26 times a year, every 2 weeks, and you can focus on cultivating that particular quality. Right? That can be your focus. Right? Cultivate that quality for the next 2 weeks. Meditate on one of these 26 qualities and really focus on trying to imbibe that quality. And then the next Ekadashi in 2 weeks, spend 2 weeks trying to focus on the next quality and cultivating that. So this is one way of cultivating these qualities. Of course, when you practice bhakti or devotional service, these qualities automatically begin to manifest within one's consciousness. One automatically begins to become begins to develop these qualities. This happens automatically. But we can also be conscientious to, you can look at the list. Merciful. Am I merciful? Do I need to be more merciful to others? Am I compassionate towards others? Am I honest? Am I truthful? Right? Am I equipoised? You can look at these qualities and conscientiously try to focus on them. Of course, when you practice devotional service, they manifest more anyway. O son of Prita, in this world, there are two kinds of created beings. One is called divine and the other demoniac. I have already explained to you at length the divine qualities. Now hear from me of the demoniac. So Prabhupada says in the purport, the conditioned living entities are divided into two classes in this world. Those born with divine qualities follow a regulated life. They abide by the injunctions of scriptures. One who does not follow the regulative principles in the scriptures and who acts according to his whims is called demoniac. So, as we mentioned, basically it comes down to, are you willing to follow the instructions of God? We follow the Bhagavad Gita. We follow these instructions. We study the instructions. We try to imbibe the instructions. We try to follow the instructions. That is our focus. Whereas others, they may hear these instructions, but they think that these instructions are not meant for them, and that they become satisfied with defying the instructions of Krishna himself. So they will not. Some people will not follow the instructions. It's very common in the modern world. People don't want to follow the instructions, but for us, we try to follow the instructions, and this is a devotional quality that one accepts the instructions of Krishna and he follows them. Those who are demoniac do not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Neither cleanliness, nor proper behavior, nor truth is found in them. So Prabhupada says, in every civilized human society, there is some set of scriptural rules and regulations, which is followed from the beginning, especially among the Aryans, those who adopt the Vedic civilization, and who are known as the most advanced civilized peoples. Those who do not follow the scriptural injunctions are supposed to be demons. Therefore, it is stated here that the demons do not know the scriptural rules, nor do they have any inclination to follow them. They have no faith. The demons are not clean, either externally or internally. Mm. So as Krishna says here, they don't know what is to be done and what is not to be done. And you see, that's what's happening in the world at the moment, right? People are not following the injunctions of the Bhagavad Gita. They're not following Krishna's teachings. You know, Bhaktaram Jagatapasam, Suridam Sarvabhutana, Sarvaloka Maheshwara. You know, Prabhupada says this is the peace formula. You know, you understand Krishna's position, right? You understand his position and you are submissive to him. And then you will become peaceful. You know, Bhaktaram Jagatapasam. Krishna is the enjoyer of everything that we do. Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the Lord of everything. Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He is the best friend of everyone. Right? Then you become peaceful when you understand these principles, this injunction. But those who don't understand and do not follow, they can never be peaceful. They can never be happy in this world. Prabhupada then says, as for behavior, there are many rules and regulations guiding human behavior, such as the Manu Samhita, which is the law of the human race. Now, in the Manu Samhita, it is clearly stated that a woman should not be given freedom. That does not mean that women are to be kept as slaves, but they are like children. Nor is the moral condition of women very good now. The demons, therefore, do not accept any instruction which is good for society. And because they do not follow the experience of great sages and the rules and regulations laid down by the sages, the social condition of the demoniac people is very miserable. So it is mentioned in the ancient teachings, women should always be protected. Otherwise, we have Varna Sankara, which means men and women are just intermingling outside of marriage freely for sex, and there is unwanted progeny. And this causes problems in the world. You know, the injunction is that the man and the woman should unite, right? And it should be based on following some spiritual religious instruction. And if one doesn't do that, then one's life can become quite miserable, right? Because one is meant to follow some teaching, some discipline, right, in the relationship with the opposite sex. But in this modern world, people just associate whimsically, and that can lead to so many problems, to abortion, to single parent families, to so many difficult situations. So women need to be protected. Not that they can just roam and just choose any partner they want, right? And just have multiple partners. You know, most of us, before we even get married in this modern world, we have multiple partners. That's not considered to be an advanced, spiritually conscious, civilized way to live, right? And when women are doing that, then they'll be exploited by men, lusty men, and then that will cause problems in society. And we're seeing that there's so many problems in society because the men and women are not following injunctions, proper injunctions. They say that this world is unreal with no foundation, no God in control. They say it is produced of sex desire and no cause other than lust. Prabhupada says the demoniac conclude that the world is phantasmagoria. There is no cause and effect, no controller, no purpose. Everything is unreal. They say that the cosmic manifestation arises due to chance material actions and reactions. They do not think that the world was created by God for a certain purpose. For them, there is no difference between matter and spirit, and they do not accept the supreme spirit. Everything in matter, everything is matter only. According to them, everything is void, and whatever manifestation exists is due to our ignorance in perception. But factually, although the demons say that life is a dream, they are very expert in enjoying this dream. And so, instead of acquiring knowledge, they become more and more implicated in their dream. And for them, it is only a combination of matter that has produced the living entities, and there is no question of the existence of the soul. So, this is a Suric or demoniac philosophy. They say there is no God. This is basically Darwinian philosophy. What's taught to us in the modern educational system. There is no God, right? We do not have to submit to God. Everything comes about by chance, right? There's no creator. So this is the mentality of the atheistic doctrine, which is currently prevalent within society. And that leads to immoral activity, because when you are not chastened by the authority of God, of Krishna, then you can act in any way you want because you're not accountable to anyone. So many people act as they want to act because they think I'm not accountable. So this philosophy is very dangerous, where one thinks that everything comes about by chance, everything is material, there is no supreme entity, we are not answerable, and this leads to materialistic consciousness. So, as devotees, we don't think like that. We understand there is a superior personality, a superior power, and we're willing to cooperate with that personality. And that is the path of Bhakti Yoga. Following such conclusions, the demoniac, who are lost to themselves and who have no intelligence, engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. So Prabhupada explains, the demoniac are engaged in activities that will lead the world to destruction. Krishna states here that they are less intelligent. The materialists, who have no concept of God, think that they are advancing, but they are devoid of all sense. They try to enjoy this world, to the utmost limit, and therefore always engage in inventing something for sense gratification. Such materialistic inventions are considered to be advancement of human civilization. But the result is that people grow more and more violent and cruel. They have no idea how to behave toward one another. Such people are considered the enemies of the world because ultimately they will invent something which will bring destruction to all. So that is the modern world, right? If you do not act as a representative of God in this world, if you are not following Krishna's teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, then you don't feel you're accountable, you don't respect life properly, you don't have spiritual vision, and you may offend so many others. And this is what we're seeing all over the world. People are performing the most abominable, harmful, hurtful activities to others. And this is causing so many problems in the modern world. All right, so this is the demoniac spirit or focus. Taking shelter of insatiable lust and absorbed in the conceit of pride and false prestige, the demoniac, thus illusioned, are always sworn to unclean work, attracted by the impermanent. So Prabhupada explains, the demons have no satiation for their lust. Although they are always full of anxieties on account of accepting non-permanent things, they still continue to engage in such activities out of illusion. They have no knowledge and cannot tell that they are heading the wrong way. Accepting non-permanent things, they create their own God, their own hymns, and chant accordingly. The result is they become more and more attracted to sex enjoyment and accumulation of wealth. They are only attracted by wine, women, gambling, and meat eating. Those are their asuchi, unclean habits. Induced by pride and false prestige, they create principles of religion which are not approved by the Vedic injunctions. Although they are most abominable, by artificial means, the world creates a false honor for them. Although they are gliding toward hell, they consider themselves very much advanced. So, as Krishna says here, they are sworn to unclean work. In other words, they concoct their own versions of religion. And you see in the modern world, this has happened. Prabhupada used to call Christianity churchianity because it is a concocted way of religion. Right? Over the centuries since Christ was here, so many people have concocted and made up interpretations of the original teachings. And because of that, we have a very improper system. So that is not what we are looking for. Right? We are looking for Sanatana Dharma, or true religious spiritual practices. And unfortunately, in the modern world, so many people are making up their own versions of how to connect to God. And although there is some sincerity there and they make some progress, they cannot make proper progress without following bona fide spiritual religious teachings, such as the Bhagavad Gita. They believe that to gratify the senses is the prime necessity of human civilization. Thus, until the end of their life, their anxiety is immeasurable. Bound by a network of hundreds and thousands of desires and absorbed in lust and anger, they secure money by illegal means for sense gratification. So Prabhupada says, the demoniac accept that the enjoyment of the senses is the ultimate goal of life. And this concept they maintain until death. They do not believe in life after death. And they do not believe that one takes on different types of bodies according to one's karma. Their plans for life are never finished. When death is there is no consideration of the man's desire. The laws of nature do not allow a second beyond what one is destined to enjoy. So you can see, in the name of religion, so many people are practicing sense gratification, right? They just think I can enjoy myself as I see fit. and I can just connect God to my concocted philosophy, and that becomes a spiritual practice. But this is not pure teaching. These are not the pure teachings of the Vedas. The Vedas teach us that you must be chaste in your consciousness to the Vedas, to the Vedic teachings. You cannot just concoct something, right? You have to have very deliberate and very focused uh, uh, focus on the teachings themselves, right? And Prabhupada taught us, what is our qualification to become guru? Our qualification to become guru is that we do not change anything that we heard from our guru. Right? Prabhupada said this, we cannot change anything. And then you are qualified to be a guru. But as soon as you change something, you lose your qualification to become a guru. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth do I have today, and I will gain more according to my scheme. So much is mine now, and it will increase in the future, more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything. I am the enjoyer. I am perfect, powerful, happy. I am the richest man, surrounded by aristocratic relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. I shall perform sacrifices. I shall give some charity, and I shall rejoice. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. So this is a definition of demoniac consciousness. Ishroham ahambogi sidoham balavan sukhi. Krishna says here, Ishwara, I am the controller. Everyone in this world, we all come here to imitate God, to imitate Krishna. We want to be the controller. Right? All of us come into this world because we want to be the controller. So that we can enjoy a hambogi, right? We think that everything is meant for our enjoyment in this world. Siddhoham, Balavan Sukhi, I am perfect. I am perfect. Whatever I want is perfect. Balavan, I am strong. Sukhi, I am happy. Right? That's how people think in this material world. Prabhupada says in the purport, the demoniac man knows no limit to his desire to acquire money. That is unlimited. He thinks only of how much assessment he has just now and schemes further and further. He is enamored by the possessions he has already, and he is always planning to improve them. He believes in his own strength, and he has no conception of past causes or the law of karma. They do not sense any arrangement behind all the varieties of people, beauty, and education. So this is demoniac. Right? This is the demoniac spirit. Right? The demoniac spirit of being rebellious against God. That everyone thinks that possessing things in this world will give one happiness. And they strive for that, they fight for that, they will kill for that, right? They just want to be in this consciousness that everything is for my pleasure. So that is the demoniac consciousness of everyone in this world who is trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusions, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down into hell. Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes proudly perform sacrifices in name only. Without following any rules or regulations. So Prabhupada says, thinking themselves all in all, not caring for any authority or scripture, the demoniac sometimes performs so-called religious or sacrificial rites. And since they do not believe in authority, they are very impudent. This is due to illusion caused by accumulating some wealth or false prestige. So this is the danger of becoming too wealthy or too powerful in this world, that one becomes materially engrossed, materially absorbed, and one becomes forgetful of his dependence on higher power. And we see in this world, this is the nature of what takes place in this world. So many people, they forget Krishna, they forget God because they become absorbed in trying to enjoy separate from him in this world. So this is the consciousness of the materialistic people. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust, and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and in the bodies of others, and blaspheme against the real religion. So Prabhupada explains, the demoniac person, being always against God's supremacy, does not like to believe in the scriptures. He is envious of both the scriptures and the existence of Krishna. This is caused by his so-called prestige and his accumulation of wealth and strength. He does not know that the present life is a preparation for the next life. Not knowing this, he is actually envious of his own self, as well as of others. He commits violence on others' bodies and on his own. He does not care for the supreme control of Krishna because he has no knowledge. He thinks himself independent and powerful in every action. He thinks that since no one can equal him in strength, power, or wealth, he can act in any way and no one can stop him. So this is demoniac spirit in a nutshell. Everyone comes to this material world to forget Krishna, to forget God. Man proposes, God disposes. Right? We want to forget Krishna. Krishna says, fine, go. I will facilitate that for you. Jnanam smritya apohanam cha. Krishna says, if you want to forget me, I will allow you to forget me. All right? So that is Krishna's focus. Right? He wants people. If you want to forget him, he will facilitate that. He will allow that. So this is the consciousness of those who want to forget him. Right? They want to absorb themselves in materialistic endeavors, and Krishna facilitates that, and then they will suffer accordingly. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest of men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. So Prabhupada explains, the demoniac person may not agree to accept the supremacy of Krishna. and it is a fact that he may act according to his own whims. But his next birth will depend upon the decision of Krishna, and not on himself. They are perpetually put into the wombs of demons, and thus they continue to be envious. The lowest of mankind, such demoniac species of men, are held to be always full of lust, always violent and hateful, and always unclean. So there are so many people in history who are like this. Historically, so many people, they mistreated others, right? So many people were they mistreated others perpetually. So we have to understand this is the consciousness of someone who's materialistic, right? So we have to be very careful how we treat others. Right? A demoniac person is just there to exploit. We're seeing in the world, even now, people are there to exploit others. Whereas someone who is spiritually focused, he will not exploit others, right? He will try to always help others. Attaining repeated birth amongst the species of demoniac life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually, they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. Prabhupada says, it is known that God is also merciful. But here we find that God is never merciful to the demoniac. So if someone is rebellious against God, Krishna will not favor them. Right? If someone is spending their life trying to harm others, they will receive they will receive punishment ultimately from Krishna, right? Through the material energy. So if we are not acting properly, we will be punished by Krishna. So we have to be very careful about how we act in this material world. There are 3 gates leading to hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give these up, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. So Prabhupada says the beginning of demoniac life is described herein. One tries to satisfy his lust, and when he cannot, anger and greed arise. A sane man who does not want to glide down to the species of demoniac life must try to give up these 3 enemies, which can kill the self to such an extent that there will be no possibility of liberation from this material entanglement. So this is the focus of this material world. Right? The focus of this material world, right, is that everyone is absorbed in lust, anger, and greed. Right? Krishna says the 3 gateways to hell, to lower consciousness, lower births. Right? If you engage yourself in lust and anger and greed, there is no possibility of leaving this material world. You cannot elevate your consciousness. So for those who are devotionally inclined, spiritually inclined, we have to purify ourselves of these 3 qualities: lust, anger, and greed in particular. The man who has accepted these 3 gates to hell, or son of Kunti, performs acts conducive. The man who has escaped these 3 gates of hell, or son of Kunti, performs acts conducive to self-realization. and thus gradually attains the supreme destination. So Prabhupada explains, one should be very careful of these three enemies of human life: lust, anger, and greed. The more a person is fixed from lust, anger, and greed, the more his existence becomes pure. Then he can follow the rules and regulations enjoined in the Vedic literature. By following the regulative principles of human life, one gradually raises himself to the platform of spiritual realization. If one is so fortunate by such practice to rise to the platform of Krishna consciousness, then success is guaranteed for him. There are different rules and regulations for different varnas and ashrams, and if a person is able to follow them, he will be automatically raised to the highest platform of spiritual realization. Then he can have liberation without a doubt. So we have to overcome these lower tendencies. All of us have a higher nature and a lower nature. All of us have the desire to serve Krishna, but we also have simultaneously a desire to enjoy in this world. So the desire to enjoy in this world has to decrease, the desire to serve Krishna has to increase, and then we can attain liberation from this material world. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. Prabhupada explains, the Shastra Vidhi, or the direction of the Shastras, is given in the different varnas and ashrams. Everyone is expected to follow those rules and regulations. If one does not follow them and acts whimsically according to his lust, anger, and desire, then he never will be perfect in his life. But if he follows the rules and regulations of the moral principles and ultimately does not come to the stage of understanding Krishna, then all his knowledge becomes spoiled. Therefore, one should gradually raise himself to the platform of Krishna consciousness and devotional service. It is then and there that he can attain the highest perfectional stage, not otherwise. So, we cannot get to the highest perfectional stage unless we develop devotional qualities. So as long as we are absorbed in this world and absorb ourselves in lust, anger, and greed and the material qualities of this world, we will never attain permanent peace and happiness. And the final verse for this chapter, one should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulation of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. So Prabhupada explains to us, as stated in the 15th chapter, all the rules and regulations of the Vedas are meant for knowing Krishna. If one understands Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita and becomes situated in Krishna consciousness, engaging himself in devotional service, he has reached the highest perfectional knowledge offered by the Vedic literature. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made this process very easy. He asked people to simply chant Hare Krishna and to engage in devotional service and eat prasadam. So the process is simple. And if one follows the basic process given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for this age of Kali, which is to dance, chant, and take prasadam, one can overcome his demoniac tendencies, even in this lifetime. So I'll stop here. Are there any questions, any comments on what we have discussed? Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week. Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Hare Bol.
Hare Bol. Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.